Let's build this chatbot application in just one video using Python, Streamlit, and Groq API, completely free. Let's jump right into it. If you know a little bit of Python, just the basics, and you have no front-end experience building any type of front-end, mobile apps, or anything like that, Streamlit is definitely something you want to try. In this video, we're going to create a chatbot using Streamlit, Python, and then we're going to use Groq Cloud for accessing a model. In order to get started, you will need to download Python to have Python installed in your local computer. So you can go to python.org/downloads and download it and install it in your computer. And make sure you click the add to path option when you're installing it. Also, I'm going to be using Visual Studio Code. You can use any IDE that you prefer, but if you want to use the same one I'm using, you can download also Visual Studio Code for free on code.visualstudio.com/download. Now let's go into Streamlit.io, and Streamlit is a framework which is going to allow you to build shareable applications in minutes using Python with no front-end experience required. They have multiple components that are going to allow you to build any type of UI that you need in order to create your data scientist or AI applications. So if we go to gallery, we can see also different examples that they have available here. In components, they have, I think we need to go to, okay, in here we can see the different widgets they have. So if we go to widgets, or let's go to text. So there we go. So text, we have different widgets that we can use in order to add text to our applications. Also in the documentation, they have different examples in here that we can see as well. So if we want text elements, we can go and see different text elements, and everything comes in one package, the Streamlit package, and then we can add titles, headers, any type of markdown. We can add data elements, charts, input widgets, buttons, download buttons. Anything is basically available in here. And there's also community components that are going to be custom components built by the community as well. So that's what we're going to be using. You're also going to need to go to groq.com, and then you can go to get a free API key, and you will have to log in or sign up if you are new to the platform. You can sign up with your Google account, GitHub, or provide your email as well. Once we have an account, later you're going to be able to click on API keys, and once you're logged in, you're going to be able to create a new API key. So once you log in, it's going to look just like this. And when we go to API keys, you can create a new API key. You can enter a name for the API key, and I'm going to call this one Streamlit Chatbot, so I know which application is using this API key. And I'm going to hit submit. So I'm showing you my API key in this video, which I'm going to delete before I publish the video, but you should never share any API keys or even put it in your code inside of your script. So I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to move this away just in case I need it again later. So in order to get started, we are going to create a new folder anywhere you want. I'm just going to create a new folder on my desktop. So I'm going to click new folder, I'm gonna call this one Streamlit dash Chatbot. And I'm going to open this with Visual Studio Code. You can open a new window. You can right click Visual Studio Code, click new window. You're gonna get a new window, and then you're gonna click File, Open Folder, and then you're gonna find that folder in your desktop or anywhere you created the folder. You're gonna click it and select it. Cool. So now we have our new folder for the project open in Visual Studio Code. One more thing we're gonna need to go to the extensions, and let's search for the Python extension. And you might have this. If not, the first one you see at the top from Microsoft, you're going to install this, so that way we can create a virtual environment inside of this project. So just click install, and then you can close that up and come back to the Explorer tab in here. So in order to create a new virtual environment, we're gonna hold Control-Shift-P on our keyboard, and we're going to search for Python : create environment. And for me, it came up right away because it was in my recents, but just type this here, create environment, and you can click on this. And we're gonna select venv. We're gonna select your Python version that you have installed. I'm gonna click on my 3.13 version, which I think is the latest at the time of the recording. And this is going to take a minute to create our virtual environment. But in the meantime, we're going to click on here, and we're gonna create a new file. We're gonna call this requirements.txt. And it looks like my environment's already created. Cool, that went away. And it's actually requirements. So let's rename this to requirements.txt. If you don't see the logo in here, don't worry, this is a icon package that I have, and it might be showing a different logo or icon for you. So here we're gonna list all the requirements for our application, and our application is pretty small, so we're only going to need to type Streamlit and Groq, which is the two packages that we're going to be using. Now we're done here, we can close that up. The next file we need to create is our app.py. And all of these files are located on the top level. They're not inside of the .env folder that was created. We don't need to actually touch this folder at all. And in here is where we're going to write our application. So we're going to keep it in here for now. And then the last thing we're going to be needing to create is going to be a new folder. We're going to call it .streamlit. Hit enter. And then we're going to right click this folder to make sure we create a new file inside of that folder, which is going to be called secrets.toml. And in here is where we're going to put our API key. So we're going to create an environment variable in all caps. We're going to type Groq _API _key equals, and then quotes. Now we need to grab our API key, which I think I have it already copied. I'm going to paste it in here and save it. Cool. So now this API key is already set inside of a secrets file, and that way we don't put it inside of our code, and it's saved for now. Cool. So make sure you have the same structure in here. And now we just need to install the dependencies or the packages that we're going to use. So we're going to click here and open a new terminal. your terminal is going to look like this. You might have a different terminal. Maybe you have, what is it? PowerShell for the terminal if you're on Mac. It doesn't matter as long as you're located inside of this folder, which VS Code opens the terminal inside of this folder already for you. If it's not, you just need to make sure to cd into that folder. And then here we just need to type pip install and then -r and then RE and hit tab so we can autocomplete requirements.txt. I'm gonna hit enter in order to install the two dependencies inside of this package. If this command doesn't work for you, you might have to type pip3 install -r requirements.txt because there's a newer version and I think I have the older one still. So I'm gonna hit enter here. But again, if that doesn't work for you, just add a 3 at the end of pip. And yeah, I think I'm a little behind on this, which I need to update. So for me, this probably went really fast because I downloaded this before and I'll probably have it in the cache. But this could take a few minutes for you, depending on your internet speed, or it can be really fast if you have good internet speed. So now that we have the requirements installed, you can pause the video if you're still waiting for this. I'm going to hit the other command that we need to execute in order to run the application. And we're going to type Streamlit run and then app hit tab.py and we're going to press enter in there. So this tab actually opened in a different window, so I'm going to open it here so we can see it. But if you visit this localhost :A501, you should be able to see the Streamlit page, which is empty right now because we don't have anything here, but we're about to add a few widgets to this application. All right, so let's start by importing Streamlit. So we're going to type import Streamlit from, import Streamlit as st. So we are renaming this package to just st, which is a convention that you will see in the documentation as well. And we're also going to type from Groq import capital G Groq. And those are the only two packages that we need. The first step we're going to do here, we're going to create our client or the Groq client. Let's do create Groq client. So that's a comment just so we can remember what this line is doing. So we're going to create a variable called client. We're going to set that equals to, we're going to call the Groq class and then parentheses. And then we need to pass our API underscore key. And we need to set that equals to, and remember we put that API key inside of the secrets file for Streamlit. So all we need to type in here is we're going to reference this variable here, st.secrets, and then we're going to type .get and then the name of the variable, environment variable we're trying to get, which is all caps Groq underscore API underscore key, and save. Once you save this, if you look at the browser, you're going to have these options. Click on always rerun so that way you don't have to do anything. Every time you save your file, the page will reload and show the latest details. So right now our application is still empty. So let's do really quick in here a quick h1, and I'm going to type st.title And then here we're going to type chatbot and hit save. And now we can see the H1 inside of the application. Now let's add a little bit of text right under that. We can use the method st.write to write anything we want. And this is going to look pretty much like a paragraph. So we're going to say chatbot powered by Groq. Cool. And we can also add a divider, just like a horizontal rule. We want to type st.divider in here. And that's it. That looks already better already. So this is basically the header or the header of the page. I'm just going to call it page header to put a comment in there. And now we're going to continue writing some of the logic for the chatbot. We took care a little bit of the UI so we can see something on the page. And now in here, what we need to do next is now we need to set the model that we want to use inside of a variable that we can refer later on when we try to use the client. So here, let's say we're going to be adding some things to the session state dictionary. So this is going to be our session state object or dictionary. And if you want to look at this, you can print actually the st in that session underscore state. And as you can see here in the console, it's just an empty dictionary at the moment. But what makes this special is that this dictionary will not lose the data if the user changes to different pages, and any data that we want to keep, we should put it in here. This is not a database, but it's something is the state where the data should live, data that we want to keep throughout the life cycle of the application. So to this here, we're going to add a new, let's add a if statement here. So we're going to say if, and we're going to create a default model property on this dictionary. We're going to call it default underscore model. If it's not in the st.session underscore state dictionary, then we want to create it. So we're going to say st.session underscore state, and then we're going to do square brackets default underscore model, and we're going to set that equals to a model that we want to use. So now the question is, which model do we have available and which model do we want to use? In here, session state proxy object is not callable because I'm put parentheses here. I don't need parentheses there. So we still need to put a value here to know which model we want to use. If we go back to the Groq playground, so we can go from API keys, we can navigate back to playground. And now here you have a list of the different models that you can use. Right now we have this llama 3AB-A1I2 selected, but all of these are available for you to use. These are from Groq, Google, Hugging Face, Meta, Mistral AI. So you can pick any ones at the moment. So I'm just gonna keep the default. So I'm gonna type the same value that's here. Actually, let me just minimize this so I can see this and type it out. So we're gonna use llama 3 dash AB dash 8182. All right, that's going to be our default model that we're going to use, but feel free to try any of these depending on the task that we need to do. Cool. So now we can see the console log printed the default model in here. Right now it just shows empty because there's probably nothing at the moment except for when it reaches this line here. So let's see what's the next step. So right now we have the default model set to the session state. Now we also want to add another property inside of the session state dictionary, which is going to be a collection of the messages that are going to be saved in the state of the application, the session state throughout the conversation. So we're going to check if messages is not in st.session underscore state. Then we want to also create it. So st.session underscore state square brackets messages, and we're going to set that equals to an empty array. Let's fix this here if it's not in there. Save it. Cool. So now we have the default model and we have the empty collection of messages. We put this print statement here. That's good. Cool. Let me now hide this terminal so we can see this better. And now we can have a little bit more practice with the different components that are available in Streamlit. So in Streamlit, you have different widgets and different things that you can do for navigating pages. One of the things that you can easily do is to add a sidebar. So in here, let me just go back to the top here so I can keep everything organized. Sidebar, and I'm going to do st.sidebar, and I'm going to call it. And right now we need to pass also a title to this. So is that title, and then we're going to say chat in here. And let's see, title, missing a T there. There we go. So now we have this sidebar here that we can close and open up. And there are many more different type of widgets. So we're gonna use a few more. Feel free to go into the documentation and explore a few more. But for now, we're going to continue to the next step, which will be to basically display the messages in this part of the page. So remember, your code is going to execute from top to bottom. So we want to do all of this before, and then displaying the messages in here should be the next step. So since we created a collection for the messages here, we can loop over this by using a for loop. So for st, or for, let's do message in st.session underscore state dot messages, which is this collection here, which is empty at the moment. We want to loop over that and grab each message. So each message is going to be available in this variable. And then we're going to go and display the message with a new widget, which is a chat message widget that is also available. Let me move this here. Move this here so I can show you a little bit quicker where these are. So if I go to the charts, authentication, text, data frames, I think it's already here. Let's say input is a chat. Where's the chat? Where's the chat? Text input in here, text input, text area, chat input in here. That's a chat input that you can render, but there's also, we're gonna use a with statement in Python, and we're gonna say with st.chat underscore message, which is going to be a message widget with a default icon that is going to be displayed. So we're going to create that container with the with statement, and then inside of the container, but first we need to say what type of message is it, if it's a assistant message or a user message. So remember, we have, when you talk in the playground, let me show you the playground again. You have your user messages that you type here, and then the response you get is the AI message. You also have like system messages, but for now, we only need the user and the assistant message. So let's create our home assistant message. So we're gonna grab the message, and each message is going to have the role. So if it's a user or an assistant message, so we're gonna say message, square brackets, and then row, which are going to be available inside of each message when we create new messages and when we get the response as well. And then we're gonna display it inside of the container, the actual text. So we're gonna do st that, we can do that right, and then we can pass it the message, and then in square brackets we're gonna do content, and I'm missing an S here. So you have the row, which could be user or assistant or even system, and then you have the actual content or the text from the response. I'm gonna save that. I'm gonna go back to the app. Right now we don't see anything, but if I initialize this with a message here, and if I set the row to user, it's gonna be a user message, and then content to hello world in here, and save it. Now let's give it a quick refresh, because it looks like it's not showing it, but now we can see it in here. We can see that now we have this default icon, because when we display the messages here, we looping over and grabbing this default message that I have here. It's showing the row, it's accessing the row, which is user, and displaying this user. And if it's an assistant, missing, what are we missing? An S here, assistant. Content, let's refresh it again. And then that's the default for the assistant message. Let's put it back to, actually let's delete it, because we just wanted to test it out to see if it's working. Let's just keep it as an empty message, or actually we're gonna keep a default one. Well, not now, let's just keep it empty, so that way we'll focus on the same task and not do anything else differently. Let's click always run or rerun. And then now let's continue in here. So this is the part that is going to display the messages, but then we need to be able to add new messages to the messages collection. So here we're gonna do another comment, and we're gonna create a chat input for message, or for user message. And then we can do a if statement to check if prompt colon equals, and then we can do a sd.chat underscore input colon, and then hit enter. And then basically this line of code is checking if we do have some text that the user type in there. Python is going to create this variable, and anything inside of the if statement is going to execute. So in here, we're going to add the new prompt or the new message from the user to the sd-session underscore state dot messages. And then we need to do a dot append to add a new message to the messages collection. And we're going to pass a dictionary to this, or an object. We're going to set the row to user. This is a user message. And then we're going to set the content to the prompt. Let me make this a little bit bigger so we can see everything in there. Look at the chat input in here. Now if I type hello, hit enter, should be appended now. Let's give it a quick refresh. Say hello. It's not being rendered. That is, let's see, because it's being added, but it's not being rendered after right away. If we look at the terminal, it's being added in there, but we actually want to display it right away here. So let's just do that inside of the if statement. So here we're going to display the new message, and we're going to do a container for the chat message. So with sd.chat underscore message to display a new message. And what type of message is going to be a user message. So we get the user default icon, and then we're going to pass a sd.write, or let's use the markdown. So we can use any markdown that we want to use for the text. And then here we're going to pass the prompt. But right now we don't need any markdown, but markdown, if we wanted to, we were able to do like an F string like this and add like any markup that we want, and then wrap this like this to display like an H2. In markdown, this two hashes creates an H2, and there we go. We get the big hello because of the two hashtags in there, but we actually don't need that because I just want to keep it as regular text. We can still use it, and let's rerun this, and now it's displaying normally there. Let me refresh this so we can get rid of the information here. Hello and hello. Perfect. All right, so if we got a message in the chat input, we'll add it to the array. Let's say append message to messages collection, and then we'll display it in the UI. So now the next step will be to actually grab this new message, this new prompt that we have. So this is the whole entire message here, and we need to send the entire collection of messages to our chat, to Groq, using the client that we created at the top. So now we need to make the API call, and then we're gonna do that outside. let's stay inside of the if statement. So here, let's see, session. Yeah, I think we can stay there. So in here, we're going to display the system response from the model, just to be clear. So first, we're going to use a with statement. So we can create a st dot chat message underscore message, and this time is going to be an assistant message. And then at the beginning, we don't have the message right away because we need to wait for the text to come back. So we're going to create a placeholder first. So we're going to say response underscore text. We're going to set that equals to st.empty to create an empty container to hold the data. So this is going to be basically a placeholder for the response text. And then here we're going to make the API call. So we're going to call the Groq API. And we're going to say completion. We're going to set that equals to client dot chat dot completions dot create. And then here we're going to pass in the different parameters that we need in order to talk to the model. So in the documentation in Groq, you can look into the API options, but basically this is the only one we need right now. And in here we need to set the model that we want to use. And remember, we already have the model inside of our session state. So we're going to do st.session underscore state dot default underscore model, or you can pass just a string with the name of the model there, but that way we don't make any typos if we need to use it like later down anywhere else in the code. And then we're going to do a comma here, and we're going to pass the messages. So actually there's a property called messages, and we need to pass let's pass the array or new empty list here. We're going to hit enter, and we're just going to do a loop in here, or basically a list comprehension in here. So we're going to grab, let's say, each. We want to return a object or a dictionary like this for every message. Let's do M, short for message, in, and then let's do st-session underscore state dot messages. We're gonna grab each message here again, and we want to return this object, which is going to have the row set to the message square brackets row, so that way we have all the messages in that were added to the state, and we don't miss any messages here. And then we're gonna set the content to m square brackets content, and that's it. And this can actually be in two separate lines if you want, like this. Cool. I think that's good there. And then lastly, we don't want to wait until the whole entire response is created. We want the model to stream the text as it creates the text. So we can set the stream option to true here and save. There are other properties that you can play around with, like the temperature, tab K, tab P, and you can find those in the Groq documentation. But for now, this is everything that we require to create the chatbot at the moment. So we're going to get a stream of messages because we set this to true. So we're going to kind of like concatenate the little pieces of text or the chunks of text that are going to be returned by the model. So we're going to create a variable called full_response. And we're going to initialize that to an empty string. And then we're going to grab a for loop. So we're going to say for chunk in, let's say completion. We want to grab the full response variable and then plus equals to concatenate each chunk of text. So the actual text is inside of chunk dot choices square brackets 0 dot delta dot content. And that content sometimes could be empty, so if there's nothing there, we can say or just add nothing, because sometimes we don't get any actual text in every single response. And then once this is done, so let's say in here, but not actually when it's completed, but on every chunk that we get, here is just the concatenation, but we actually need to pass this to the placeholder that we created here so the user can actually see it. So we're going to set a response text, and then we're going to do that markdown, or we can use write, whatever we want, and then pass the full response here. And then that will give us the response added there. And then finally, we need to just add outside of the for loop. So we're going to go back here and say add full response to the messages. And then we're going to do st.session underscore state dot messages dot append, and then we're going to pass a new dictionary with the row set to assistant, and we need to pass content content, and we need to pass the full response in here. But this needs to be, make sure it's outside of the loop, so it's at the same level as the for loop. And when we save, we're done. Let's test this out. So let's give it a quick refresh. We're gonna say hello. And this model is pretty fast. So the stream, it was like barely, I was able to barely see it, but it's working. And we get back a response from the model saying, hello, it's nice to meet you. Is there something I can help you with? Or would you like to chat? I'm gonna say just chat. And it responds really fast. It says, I would love to chat with you then. How's your day, blah, blah, blah. So it's gonna start into, it's gonna start some conversation. Says we can even play a game. or if there's anything the model can help you with, you can also prompt the model for that. So let's say, let's play tic-tac-toe. I don't know if it is able to play it, but here we go. It says, here's the game. You're X and I'm O, and then here you can start having your conversation with the model. So this was a quick application just to show you how easy it is to create applications with Streamlit, Python, and Groq, and everything is free. And before we close down for this video, I want to tell you to go back to the documentation for Streamlit, where you can find all the different widgets in the API reference, right? So you can build other applications. And also you can go to Groq and go to the documentation here. And in here, you can see also how to get started. You can also have a look at the chat API in here, completions API, which is the one we're using now, and read through this so you can learn more. You can see it right here. It's the same thing we did, the messages and the model, the temperature that you can use, the max token you can set, tab P, step sequences, and stream as well. So let me know if you like this video so we can build a new application. And if you have any applications that that you would like to build, let me know in the video messages. I'll see you in the next one.